And our musicians today are Meg Ray and Kellen Krapp. Thank you.
Good morning. How you feeling? Feeling good? All right, okay. If you know the words, please sing along. Let's get this party started. Come on and clap your hands. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. You can stand up. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul, say, God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul, say, God is so good. My God is so good to me. In my time of trouble, I say, hey, in my time of trouble, saying, hey, in my time of trouble, saying, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Yeah. In my time of triumph, God is so good. Come on, Andy. In my time of triumph, God is so good. In my time of triumph, say, God is so good. My God is so good to me. When my day is over, I sing, God is so good. When my day is over, I sing, God is so good. When my day is over, I say, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Yeah. Every day, in every way, God is so good. Every day, in every way, God is so good. Every day, in every way, God is so good. My God is so good to me. When I take the time to praise, God is so good. When I take the time to praise, God is so good. When I take the time to praise, God is so good. My God is so good to me. I came up to OCSL singing, God is so good. I came up to church, I'm singing, God is so good. Here I am in community singing, God is so good. My God is so, my God is so, my God is so good to me. Yeah. Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, OCSL. Thank you so much to our wonderful musicians, Omega Ray and Kellen Krapp. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, where we teach spiritual principles and practices that nourish us, uplift us, and celebrate our oneness with all of life. A special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the very first time. We're really glad that you're here to spend this Sunday with us. Please raise your hand if you're here for the very first time, and our ushers will come by and provide you with a little gift. Is anybody here for the first time? Okay. Woo! We got some good folks here. Also, a big welcome to everyone who is joining on YouTube Live. Let's go ahead and say hello, everyone. Make sure you sign up for our weekly newsletter so you can learn about all the fun things we have to offer here at Oakland Center. Now let's take a moment to bless our children wherever they are. We honor all our youth and children in our community and the world. We love you. We see you. You are Spirit's gift to us. Thank you for being in our lives, and so it is. I have a few announcements for you today. Next Wednesday, August 10th, practitioner and ministerial student Teresa Gardner will continue the inquiry into Earth Force, Report for Duty. Meditation is at 6:30 and service is at 7 p.m. and this will be on Zoom. The Compassionate Attention to Lost Ministry, CALM, meets today at 12:30 in Reverend Jerry's office. If you're not in person, you can also join via Zoom. The bookstore is open after service. You can exit through the bookstore and check out all the new books and spiritual gift items that are there. Everything this month is 40% off, so be sure to go in and check it out. The search for our new minister continues. It is underway. The new minister search committee is completing their interviews, and the board will begin their interviews soon. For details of upcoming events, workshops, and classes, please go to the Thursday Village News at oaklandcsl.org and the rotating slideshow before and after service. It will show you all the wonderful things that are going on at our center. Now, if we could all stand and read our vision and mission statement. All right. The vision of the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living is to joyfully reveal the love and oneness of God. We are a welcoming and inclusive spiritual community dedicated to individual transformation and collective growth. Our purpose is to love, inspire, and serve our community and the world through education, music, prayer, and play. And so it is. And as always, for more information, please visit our website, oaklandcsl.org, and sign up for our weekly village news. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for special updates and content. Thank you very much and enjoy the service. I announce practitioner Susan Brecker to the pulpit.
It is. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see you. You're looking really good. So I am the pulpit assistant today, as Maureen had said. And the first thing we're going to do is just take a deep breath together. And if you will, the PowerPoint slide of the qualities, please. If you will, look at these. Look at all of them. And try and focus in on one that speaks to your heart. These are the qualities that we're calling forth for our new minister. This came out of the visioning of the covenant. And it's a document that's in the back of the seats, if you choose. And to remember, that document is a culmination of a visioning for our community. And one of these wonderful qualities speaks to your heart. And that's what you bring to our new minister. So just take a moment and be still. And remember, as we embody these qualities within ourselves, we bring about the greatest good for ourselves individually, for our community, and for the world at large. So thank you. So this morning, our topic is Earth Force, Report for Duty. Are you ready? The first reading is by Ernest Holmes. I am guided by the same intelligence and inspired by the same imagination which scatters the moonbeams across the waves and holds the forces of nature in its grasp. Our second reading is by Starhawk. A real relationship with nature is vital for our magical and spiritual development and our psychic and spiritual health. It is also a vital base for any work we do to heal the earth and transform the social and political systems that are assaulting her daily. Take a breath again. Sweet nature. So I invite you to join me in a moment of prayer as together we come into consciousness, being fully present and aware that there is only one life. And this life lives itself as each and every one of us, as every person, every place, everything. It is the creative energy of the universe itself that animates every person, place, and thing. How grateful I am to sweetly surrender into this awareness, to know that this is my life and it is the life of each and every one of us. I give abundant thanks for this awareness. I surrender into union and communion as the word, the creative word itself, speaks itself for all of us. For we have come together to say yes in the celebration of this day, to say yes to the living spirit as it reveals itself as every word, every deed, and every action of our life. It is in this sweet surrender that the still small voice speaks itself as who and what we truly are. How grateful I am to know that we are fully blessed because we have stepped forward as the blessing that blesses this day. And I bless Reverend Alan Young as he steps forward to this pulpit to speak his word, to creatively give of himself to each and every one of us, that the word is spoken with ease and grace and effortlessly. So for this opportunity to know the truth, to give thanks for all that has come together before this moment and that will reveal itself after this moment, I remain grateful. The love of the living spirit is the path and the light. I give thanks, and so it is.
We are the love of strangers that say a silent prayer. We are the love of mothers that taught our hearts to care. We are the patience and the sacrifice of yesterday. The silence in between the breaths of all the words we say. We are. Ooh, 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 ooh. We are the proof of life, how our ancestors gave. We are the proof of love, from the cradle to the grave. We are. We are the best of struggles that we won't have to bear. We are the heir to all the prayers that float upon the air. We are. Ooh, ooh, We are the seed of children that may never know our names. We are the piece of people that won't bow their heads in shame. We are. We walk upon the earth. We knock on heaven's door. We are the life that teems along the deepest ocean shores. We are. The present, the past, the future days to come, the Alpha, the Omega, we are everything in one. We are. Thank you.
Omega and Kellen, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was so magical and just so creamy and nice. What a wonderful, beautiful piece. Thank you both. Hi, I'm Reverend Jerry. Glad to be here with you. I've been on a little vacation, a little recharging my batteries, and they are recharged. So I'm ready to go. So glad to be with you today. And so glad to be with everyone, including our streamers and our YouTubers and everyone back there. how good it is. Doesn't it feel good to be in community? And I see the day when this room is full again. I know it's coming. And I'm really happy to be with you today. You know, over the last year, I was pondering the whole idea of collaboration and how beautifully we have brought amazing guest speakers into our sanctuary over this time, and how beautifully we've weathered this whole idea of a pandemic and just, you know, calling forth wellness in our community. And it's all here, it's all happening. So it's great to be with you. And I'm particularly happy because today we are collaborating with a wonderful minister. And this music today, I have a feeling, is just so connected to the theme and what our beloved Reverend Alan David Young, PhD, is going to be discussing with us. So Reverend Alan has been doing psychic-based counseling with a mystical spin into an intuition training. So the mystical spin of intuition training sounds fabulous, yes? So he's been doing intuition training workshops and facilitating dream group for well over 30 years. In addition to teaching at 3 local universities for 15 years, he has been a Science of Mind minister for the past 15 years. When we were chatting in the minister's room earlier, Reverend Allen shared with me that back in 2003, he had taken his oral panels in that room. So isn't it wonderful how we stay connected to our spiritual family, and we just keep circulating and bringing these amazing individuals back to us. So before this time, he learned much of his intuitive work from the Berkeley Psychic Institute and the Jungian Sonori Institute, and about mysticism from Howard Thurman. Yes, the big mystic, yes. Reverend Allen is the author of 6 books on expanding your intuition, the I Ching and New Thought Enneagram. So he is really a blessing to us this day. I might add that most of Reverend Allen's books and most of his ministry is related to applying intuition in its various forms to science of mind beliefs, philosophy, and practices. He is also one of the longest-serving members on the CSL visioning team. So we have a real special person with us today, and I am completely honored to welcome Reverend Alan David Young to our pulpit. So please enjoy. Give him a warm welcome.
Got a piece of paper I'm going to use. I think everybody can hear me. All right, good show. Before I get into the talk, let me give a little of the backstory of how I got into intuition and clairvoyance, because if someone had asked me what that was beforehand, I couldn't have given a good explanation at all. But at the Berkeley Psychic Institute, I did get a reading. I think it was 1975. They had only been formed a few years before then. And frankly, I had it tape recorded. It was one of their professional readers. And I listened to what this guy was saying, a total stranger. I didn't ask him any questions. I just wanted to give me a reading. He said, "What do you want?" I said, "Just do me. Give me something." And so he gave me this reading. And I listened to the tape 3 or 4 times later. I said, "I got to sign up for this. This stuff is really good." And so I thought it would make me a better individual, just to know that I could tune into people like he was tuning into me. I said, "Wow, that's amazing stuff." And so I signed up for the course, and couldn't wait to sign up for the course, as a matter of fact. And it was a 1-year training program in Berkeley. And after about a few months, 6 months or so, it brought a lot of stuff up for me. How is this stuff connected to religion? How is it connected to dreams? Because those were my fantasies, or not fantasies, my interests, going way back before then. But that's all that they did was psychic readings. So I went to the GTU and Pacific School of Religion, a little bit about a block from the University of California, a place called Holy Hill, and signed up for their program. But it was a little bit too much religion and not enough spirituality. So I needed to move on, but I didn't move on yet because we had a great teacher coming, and he changed my life in terms of mysticism and the connection between extrasensory perception and mysticism. So let me tell you just a little bit about this. He taught a course called Mysticism and Social Change, exotic title. And I learned a lot about mysticism. It was really my first introduction to the subject. But one of the things that stood out for me is that he had a strong connection to extrasensory perception. Why do I say that? Because he would talk about his rose garden on Sutter Street in San Francisco and how he had a relationship with the roses. And his roses grew better than all the roses in the neighborhood. I said, oh, that's pretty good. And then he was another few sessions later, he was giving a sacred reading. That's what he liked to do before every class. And he'd sit on the front table, and he was reading this little sacred reading on a dialogue between two leaves on a tree from the movie Bambi. I remember the story because it stood out for me. He only got into maybe a quarter of the reading, and he just stopped. Probably 60, 70 people in the room. He just stopped. And he said, somebody doesn't like what I'm doing. Somebody's throwing negative energy my way, and I don't like it. I need to take a break. And let's come back in about 5 minutes. We came back in the class. Everybody in the hall was wondering, who was that? Who did that? How did he pick that up? How did he know that? And you've probably had that sensation when you're speaking to someone and you know they're not tuned into what you're saying. Do you speak up, or do you just keep your mouth shut, or do you say something? But that's what he said. And so the class resumed. He sat back in his chair, took a second, much better. And he proceeded with the story. I said, that's my man. Because that's what I was looking to do, is tie together religion and sort of the extrasensory perception world, psychic world, and call it by many, many different names. Now, it turns out that there are 3 different types of intuition. One is the one that most people sort of know about, is what's called direct contact intuition. That could be through dreams, could be through clairvoyance, could be through deep meditation, where it's nothing between you and the divine except the quiet of your mind. Because when the world is quiet, when the mind is quiet, guess what? Everything functions a little better. So that's one. It's called, I call it direct contact intuition. Then there's what's called divination intuition. The simplest divination I could present to you is a coin. If you believe that heads represents yes and tails represents no, and you have an agreement with the universe, which is always kind of unbiased, always impartial, you flip the coin. What determines how it lands, heads or tails? It ain't your head. It's not your ego. It's the divine. Now, if you don't have that belief, it's just a game, or it's just something else. They do that at football games, sports things. But if you give permission to the divine and permission to yourself to have that sacred contact, a coin where you represent, heads represents yes, tails represent no, or something like that. Because in the beginning, what was it? There was just darkness, and God created light. And there was 2 things. There was light and there was darkness, heads and tails. The deeper mind, which we call the creative mind in our philosophy, really speaks the language of images and the language of symbols. Coin is a symbol, but when you go into a deep state, you get images. And if you don't get images, you get something, because we have multiple senses, and it doesn't have to be necessarily that you'll see a picture. But what I'll be talking about in our workshop next week, titled Expanding Your Intuition, in fact, that's the title of this talk, is what this intuition is. How does it work? The third type of intuition outside of, so there's direct contact, then there's divination contact. That's where you're using an intermediary, like a coin, or a system such as tarot, which many people have heard about, or the I Ching. There's many, many systems of divination where you're trying to give the universe a voice in terms of some predefined symbols, and that's the basis of getting a reading. It's easier for people to do that sometimes than just tuning in and catching the divine voice, catching the divine broadcast without using anything in between. And then there's body intuition, which is very common, but people don't think of it as being intuition. What is body intuition? Body intuition comes through books It comes through teachers. It comes through people. If you're reading a book, you're going to learn something that maybe wasn't in the book. It's going to touch an idea, and oh, that's a little bit of intuition. You could be observing the planets, and if you know a little bit about the planets, you get an intuitive hit on what that means. It could be your physical body. If you have a physical pain, your body is trying to let you know something that you didn't know before. That's an intuition. So intuition has a physical form. It has a sort of an in-between, intermediate form. That's the divination. And then there's direct contact. Clairvoyance is a form of direct contact. It's not the only way of communicating with the divine, because there are at least 20 different multisensory perception abilities that we have. I'm only focusing on one, and it turns out that clairvoyance is one of the best ones. You've heard Ernest Holmes say that clear thinking is better than fuzzy thinking. That's true. Well, if you see something clearly, it's better than if you see something that's not so clear and fuzzy. So that's a way of thinking about that. Now, I'm going to give you a little demonstration right now, if it's okay with you. If you would sit up in your chair, straight, put your feet on the ground, and we're going to feel some energy in your body. Now, let me explain what this is first, so you know what to look for, know what to sense. Energy, body energy, has got a little warmth to it. It's got a little pulsing energy to it. Sometimes there's a little tingling energy. That's how it feels. It's very sensitive. Sometimes instruments can't even measure it, but we're going to feel it in a second. In order to warm up to this, what you have to do is kind of sensitize your fingers. How do you do that? Just do this right now. About 10, 12 times, tap your fingers together. That makes your fingers a little bit more sensitive. Do that, okay? And then hold your hands apart about yay far, about 8 inches. See if you feel anything. Just be quiet for a moment. See if you feel any pulsing, any sensation, any warmth. And if not, go like an accordion, pull your arms apart, and come back in again, very slowly. And see what you can feel. Sometimes you can feel so much you can make a little ball out of it. You can toss it to somebody. Okay, if you didn't feel anything, you will at some point. Sometimes it takes a little practice. Just curious, how many people could feel this energy? Well, that's more than half the people. How about that? Maybe you felt it before, maybe not. But if I want you to think about what it was first, because sometimes we have to know a little bit about training the mind how to think. There's a philosopher who says, what the mind imagines to be true, the whole body obeys. So if I tell you or imagine that you're biting into a big, juicy yellow lemon, what does your body do? Well, if you like lemons, maybe you smile. If you don't like lemons, maybe you frown, or something in between. So what the body imagines, what the mind imagines, the body gets in tune with, and so we can do that. Now, there are some simple forms of doing readings, and usually in order to tune into the energy of a subject or an individual or something like that, we have to know a little bit about what it is that we're looking at. If someone says, well, if you're clairvoyant, can't you just read my mind and say what's going on? I say, well, it doesn't work quite like that. You have to have some basic knowledge. If someone just says, I'm sick, can you fix me? Where are you sick? Where are you hurting? Start somewhere. So you got to have a few tips. It's a point I want to make. And the point is this. The house, according to Jungian psychologists, is a symbol of the entire personality. The house. Biblically, the house is also a symbol of the soul. And even architects call it a symbol of self-expression when they're designing houses. Good architects do. So one way of tuning into someone's personality is to imagine, it's two people sitting next to each other, facing each other. Imagine what kind of house describes that individual's personality. What house comes to mind? And you're going to see something. Why? Because people are used to seeing houses. Whatever house you see is going to say something about that person's expression and presentation to the world. no matter what you see. It's either a house or a home. Now, this is something that it's a good model to get us started, because if you can see something that you are familiar with in the outer world, then when you go within, it's much easier to see because you know something about what to look for. And I don't think there's anybody here who can't imagine a house. It's not the physical house you live in necessarily, although if you pair up with someone you know, that's where your mind is going to go, as to where they live. But if it's a stranger, then you'll just create a house and you don't know, I see this, but I'm not sure what it means. Well, suppose you see a house that's on a hill or in the countryside all by itself, and you see someone else sees a house that's a very congested neighborhood. What's the difference in those two personalities? Maybe it's obvious. One is probably more of an introvert. They love their alone time. Another likes and stimulated by people and energy. And the presentation of the house itself. If there's a big fence around the house for one individual and a nice rose garden around the house for another, which one do you have easy access to? Well, that's kind of obvious too. So I'm not going to go into the house, because when you get into the rooms, that gets to be very personal. And so we'll just look at the outer appearance. But that's just an example, a model of how you can use, how to get started on this. It doesn't even have to be a house. It could be something else. But it needs to be something that people universally respond to. But that's it. The idea is to start off with something that we agree with. We're not doing anything with the I Ching, except the coin is sometimes brings that to mind, because that system uses that kind of thing. It doesn't use a house, but one of the symbols there is called a mountain. What kind of mountain describes this person or this situation? What kind of, like that? Now, simple reading, it would be a simple use of clairvoyance is when someone wants maybe, and this is something that will happen in a workshop, wants a reading, but they don't really have any questions. They're kind of like me years and years ago. Didn't really know what to ask. So if someone wants that and you're not sure what to ask, how do you work with them? Well, you just have some sort of basic icebreaker things, such as, well, what's going on in your life now? You can intuitively get that if you close your eyes and concentrate. And what's coming up? That's a simple thing. Or you can ask a question like, what do you want out of your life now? A. B. What are you getting out of your life now? I know in my case, if what I want exceeds what I'm getting, I'm not a happy camper. But if what I get exceeds what I get, I'm very, very happy. And sometimes it's balance. But that's something that you can everybody can tune into, or anyone can do once you kind of learn this sort of some basic things to work with. And this whole idea of just, you can look at what is it that you know well, and everybody has something that they know well, and what is it that you need to learn? These kind of two-sided readings help people that don't really have any questions in mind, how to tune into themselves, how to know a little bit more about themselves, especially if it comes from a stranger or someone that they're not related to. So there's many, many things like that. And one popular one is, what's going on in your life now? What's coming up over the next 6 months? How does that look? And people love those kind of things. But that's just a kind of a tune-up type of reading. And for first-timers. And then regular people, someone who's done this before and someone who really wants to know themselves, come in with bigger questions, such as, well, what's going on in my relationship now? I'm having some issues. How does that, can you look at that? Sure, anybody can look at that, that knows how to. Or what's going on with my business? I'm having some difficulties. What can I do to fix it? What insights or what guidance can I follow to kind of correct things? That's something that we can address. A lot of it's in the question. If we have a clear question, you're going to get a clear answer. Trends is something that's very popular for people to know. Trends meaning, is this going in a positive direction? What this meaning the project I'm working on, the relationship I'm in, the business I have, or something I'm trying to do. Is this going in a positive direction? That's a trend. Or is it going in a not so positive direction? That's a trend. Is it staying the same? Nothing is really changing. That's a direction as well. People love to know that usually. And big question is life purpose. What is my purpose in life? That's a pretty popular question. The thing with that question, though, is that if I were to tell someone what their purpose in life is, and they don't really know anything about that other than they have a question, they won't understand what I'm saying, unfortunately, just because you have to know something. There's one of the lines in our What We Believe that says, anyone may become a revealer of God who lives in close contact with their intuitive and spiritual awareness. Spiritual awareness is not an intuitive thing. It's really a philosophy, a body of knowledge that's really the truth. And we have to marry that body of knowledge of truth with intuition in order to get a good insight. Sometimes people want guidance. Sometimes they're just Q&A type readings. They just ask questions and you get answers. Questions and they get answers. Sometimes people just want to talk. They don't even want to read. They just want to talk. That's okay too. Okay. Now, let me go back to this coin thing again, because it's a very powerful tool, very simple tool, and you can use it from here on out. If you haven't, you might want to try it. You have a coin. If I flip a coin in the air, there's 50% of the chance it's going to land heads, 50% of the time it's going to land tails. There's no other choice. Just like when the universe was created, there was darkness and God created light. So if you flip the coin once, if say you're in a grocery store, or you're just shopping, or you just want to do a task but you're not sure if you could do it, you could take a simple coin and say, Dear God, I want to do this. I'm trusting you to give me the right answer. If you don't have the trust and the agreement, you're just playing games. You flip your coin, heads. Okay, 50% of the time, it's saying a 50% chance you should go this way or that way. What if you flipped the coin twice? Well, if you flipped it twice in succession, only 25% of the time it's going to be heads. That's a definitely yes. Or 25% of the times it's going to be tails. That's definitely no. 50% of the time it's going to be in the middle. That's kind of how the universe is. In terms of this universe we live in, no matter what system you use, ultimately it boils down to something is very clear, something is very unclear, or it's kind of in the middle, yes or no. It's a little bit like this saying, to be or not to be. It's both. Is it either or is it or? It's both. People usually don't like to hear it's both. They want to know yes, they want to know no. At least I do. In fact, most people I work with and talk with. And why is that the case? It's the case because people don't have time to figure out a general answer or an answer that's going to give them some insight. They just want to know, do I do it or do I not? Is this going to make money on this deal? Or am I going to lose money on this deal? I just want to know yes or no. Now, if you have a more elaborate answer, a more elaborate system, you'll get a lot of information, but ultimately it's going to come down to do or don't do. Do or don't do. In fact, 90% of the time, that's what we want, a yes or no. A small percentage of the time, we're interested in the complete answer and the analysis of what's going on, but in the bottom line, we just want to know, is this, in most cases, do something or don't do something. That's how it is. And you can do that with a coin. If you were to get used to doing that, flipping your coin, you can do that over meals, over conversations, over just about anything. A very simple tool. Now, how do we increase our intuitive accuracy? If that's something you want to do, you'd only want to do it if you became intuitive, because even if you, in fact, you are intuitive. I shouldn't say became intuitive, but generally speaking, here's some tips on how to increase boost the accuracy of that. One is to practice. That's kind of an obvious giveaway one. Practice. The other is to get feedback from individuals or feedback from the source. Let's say you do whatever you want to do, but at least ask the universe what it thinks you should do, and pretty soon you'll find out who's right. It might make you an ally of intuition, of that kind of intuition, this idea of divination. Divination is just one of those tools that's, I mentioned the coin, but there's many, many others. If you have one or you use that, it's a really good thing to have. But what makes it, what gives you the accuracy is getting feedback from others. You can even get feedback from the universe. If you do a coin flip kind of reading, and on something about buying something or doing some project, and let's say you do that, but you're not sure. I know the universe said that, but you're not sure if you should actually do that. You're just not sure. I know it said that. It's just a coin, but should I do it or should I not do it? Well, guess what? Ask again. If you get the same answer, I think if you ask a third time, the universe is going to think you're not serious and just, you're going to get some crazy stuff. In fact, when you don't trust the universe, it allows you a certain amount of flexibility, but pretty soon you can't play games with it because it's not going to let you do that. What you need to have ultimately is a sacred, I want to call this, a sacred agreement. It's almost like a relationship. If you have a relationship with somebody and you don't listen to them, what's going to happen to that relationship? Now, if you have a relationship with God and you don't listen to him, what's going to happen to that relationship? You're going to keep living, but, you know, you might have more bruises on your head or your rear end or whatever. But in any event, one of the ways of increasing your accuracy is to trust the information, to trust the universe. And if it takes a while to trust, it takes a while to trust. So that's just, but it's kind of like in when you're much younger in the dating scene, we just want to date. We don't necessarily want to make a commitment yet. Well, that's the same way with working with God. We just want to kind of sample and see if this stuff really works. The science might really work. Maybe it doesn't really work. The more you work with it, the more you have an agreement, the more you get serious, the more accurate and useful your readings will be, your insights will be. That's the way it works. So this idea of the sacred marriage is sort of the highest level of intuition. You may not want to be that intuitively accurate, so in which case you can just kind of learn and prove it to yourself. In fact, one way of proving this works, you could actually do it, is to just do what you want to do, but consult the universe as well. So you have two lists. This is my way. This is what the universe says. This is my way. This is what the universe says. If you really do that kind of scientific study, it won't take you long to say, wow, how could I have been so stupid? I'm going to use this all the time, so to speak. Now, let me begin to close this with a comment on something that we're all, I think for me, just curious. How many people here know about visioning? Visioning. Oh, almost everybody. Okay. There's a strong relationship between visioning and clairvoyance. They're a little different, but they're similar. I'm going to talk about the difference a little bit because this does come up. What they have in common is that whether you're doing visioning or whether you're using clairvoyance, and clairvoyance, I don't know if I said this, and maybe everybody knows this, it's really your third eye, using your third eye. Just getting quiet and allowing yourself to see with the third eye. We'll do a lot of that in the workshop. But both of them have in common is knowledge. You need to have some knowledge of the subject you're visioning on. If not, it's not going to make a lot of sense. If you're doing an intuitive reading, a clairvoyant reading, you need to know a little bit about the individual or the subject matter. Not a lot of information, but you need to know something. It's almost like a lost and found, or kind of a rare reading. If someone comes to me, I lost my ring, I lost my keys, I lost this, can you help me find them? Can you give me any tips? No, I don't know where I lost it. It's somewhere in the universe. I can't help you. Okay. If they could say, I'm pretty sure it's in my house, or I'm pretty sure it's on my property, that's something to work with. But if I don't have a clue, it's like going to a doctor and say, Doc, I'm hurting. Where are you hurting? I don't know, I'm just hurting. Oh, get out of here. Okay. In fact, people used to sometimes ask me that, if you're so intuitive, why did you get tricked in that? Why did you lose money in that? I said, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. In any event, visioning is a group activity, and it invites group input, and moreover, it invites multi-sensory perception input. So you can get, when you do visioning, you can go with your feelings, you can go with whatever thoughts come to mind, you can go with whatever images come to mind if you have them, or symbols, and it's a group activity. With clairvoyance, it's generally individual, although you could have a group of clairvoyants working together. Usually it's more with visioning. The good thing about visioning is that everybody has input, even if it's just random input from ideas that they thought about. And when they collect all the raw data from the visioning, eventually there's a team of people that try to sort out how many times did this subject appear, how many times did that subject appear, And eventually you get to a place where, okay, this is what God is really saying. Is even though the deeper mind, where this visioning goes to, speaks the natural mother tongue languages, images and symbols, it also will speak through symbols, or just words. But the deeper mind doesn't speak English, French, German, Russian, Spanish. It doesn't speak, it really speaks its own native language. It's been doing that way before modern languages were invented, and it still does that. And we can learn how to do that when we quiet the mind. And so basically you have a situation where a clairvoyant reading or clairvoyant input is image related. Visioning input may or may not be image related, and you can put the two together. On the visioning team, I pretty much just do clairvoyant reading, and sometimes people do imaging and sometimes they don't. We put them together, and once that's done, it's out of my hands. It goes to the people who are interpreting this stuff. And sometimes they look at an image and just interpret it like it's words, as opposed to the belief and the philosophy and the knowledge that a picture is 1,000 words. That's one of the beauties about how God communicates with it. Just a little image, it means a whole bunch. Whereas words, it takes a lot of words sometimes to explain what's going on. So there's a difference. And I think the two can be related, and they are related, and they're connected. And it reminds me of this sort of African proverb, when I think about the difference between them. If you go alone, you go further. But when you go together, you go further. So going alone is faster, but going with a group is always further. It's just a slower process. I think vision is a somewhat slower process, but God's going to find a way to communicate with us and to allow us to listen to what it says as well. So with that, that's my talk. And I want to invite you for a moment to go within for a moment of prayer. And to do that, just simply put your attention on that quiet place. And know that right where you are is holy ground. We give thanks for the divine being in this place, the divine being in and through each of us, for we are the place where the divine shows up. So just take in a deep breath into your heart and let it out through your nose. Do that a couple of times. Oh, great Spirit, earth, sky, sun, and sea, you are inside. You are inside each of us. Oh, great Spirit, how sacred is thy name, and comforting thy presence. I accept and know that each of us is receiving what we need to receive in life, for God is always on the job, and God is always good, not sometimes, but all the time. God knows what we need even before we know what we need. And when the mind is quiet, the whole world functions a little better. So let yourself be still like a mountain. Be at ease like a feather on the wind. Be the place that welcomes in the divine, for thy will is being done through each of us right now as we sit, as we stand on this holy ground. For there is a spirit in the house that we call God. It's in the chairs. It's in our bones. It's in our flesh. It's allowing us to give this service to praise thy name. And so whatever it is that you would like, whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you need, the divine is going to sort that out. It is sorting it out and is going to answer that prayer according to what you can receive. It's not going to give you more than you can receive, but what you can receive. And for those who are tuned into this service from YouTube or any other place in the universe, we thank you for your presence. We accept that you are receiving what God has for you. For it's hard to hear this one little thing, but it is true that the life you're living is God's answer to your prayer. And with that, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen.
continue to
And,
remain in this
Reverend Jerry. Oh,
yeah.
there she is. I knew she was next.
Let
Sorry,
us
Rev.
remain in this beautiful tone that Reverend Allen has established for us this morning. So just taking another deep breath, breathing in that breath of love, that breath of life, that breath of goodness, that breath that moves through every atom, organ, cell, fiber, tissue of our being, that breath of wholeness, that breath of the divine. And I, Reverend Jerry, claim this day knowing that we are being divinely guided, inspired. We are tapping into our intuition in such a grand and glorious way after this beautiful talk today. I'm blessing Reverend Allen on his journey and his sharing with us. And knowing that next Saturday's workshop is magnificent, and that anyone who has an inquiry about intuition steps forward and says yes to this opportunity to study with Reverend Allen. And then knowing for our Center for Spiritual Living, Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, that this month's nonprofit partner, the Go Abroad Foundation, was created to support grassroots organizations around the world by generating financial support for community-based projects, contributing to the development of numerous nonprofit organizations and a variety of meaningful projects. This month's nonprofit partner, and we'll hear more from them later in the month. And knowing for our planet, Mother Earth, such deep gratitude for her beauty and her resilience, and our increasingly mindful stewardship of her. And blessing our youth and the youth of the world, knowing they are guided by the loving mind and heart of Spirit. And blessing those in service, creating a world that works for everyone. And I'm claiming and accepting and knowing love, comfort, peace of mind, and healing for all those impacted by challenges in whatsoever form. For each and every prayer in our Ministry of Prayer box that Chantal is wrapping her beautiful energy around, just knowing that all prayers are answered prayers, and our Ministry of Prayer team and practitioners support each and every prayer request. And I'm knowing also for Richard Williams, Claudia Stiles, Jerry Abergost, Lewis Thompson, Taylor, and Firefly, knowing love that passes all understanding of life, because love is truly all that there is, knowing comfort and ease and peace of mind for each and every one in their healing process. And let's continue to hold our world in prayer, knowing that peace is possible in Ukraine as well as other parts of the country and other parts experiencing war. And for everyone impacted by violence of any type, let us pray for continued wholeness and safety from the pandemic and any and all experiences that are taking place in our lives right here and right now. And for Ron Gardner, the brother of our beloved Teresa Gardner, holding Teresa and her mother and sister in prayer as Ron makes his journey safely. We're knowing that he is being guided and embraced in the loving arms of Spirit, and that each and every family member is also being embraced with those same loving arms. And please go within to your heart right here and right now and call forth the name or names of anyone on your heart who is in need of a prayer this day. And please whisper those names into the sacredness of this sanctuary. George. And as the names continue to be spoken, let us know that each and every prayer that we speak, each and every name that we speak of, all prayer is answered prayer. And we know that God's grace and love is our sufficiency in supporting us each step of the way in our life's journey. How good God is, how grateful I am. And I let these words go now into that universal law of love, that law of life, that always, always says yes to our heart's desires as we say yes to the divine. So let us say yes. And so it is. Ah, blessed be. Amen. Thank you, Chantal, so much. And so it is a special time of our service. It is our conscious giving time of our service. Whether you're giving, yes, let's cheer that on, because it's the conscious giving that steps us into the law of circulation that allows us to thrive as a community and allows us to thrive individually. So as you hold your gift to your heart, whether it's your monetary gift or your auto-giving card, just hold it to your heart and embrace it. Know that it does great work in the world, and it comes back to us multiplied abundantly. We are so blessed. And so let us share in our affirmation today. I give and receive freely and generously with an open heart and open mind, blessing the flow of prosperity in the world. And so it is. So just breathe that in for a moment. And of course, there are baskets at the exits where you can deposit your gift. We are so grateful here at Oakland Center because we know it allows us to do everything we're doing with such grace, such as this day with our beautiful musicians, our amazing speaker. So let us give a round of applause again to our beloved Reverend Alan David Young. Thank you. And of course, we have all of our methods of giving. We have our donate button on the website. We have text to give, Zelle to give, the baskets to give in. We have lots of ways to give. So bless you all for your gifts. Thank you so very much. And now we are going to have our musical inspiration, another amazing gift to our community, Omega and Kellen. Thank you.
Thank you. When there was no time, and before there was a number, Spirit did prevail in a song of ecstasy. And before I had a dream or a lesson to remember, Spirit gently held a song inside of me. So I sing a song of joy, sing a song of knowing all is truly well, and that heaven is at hand. Sometimes I may cry that I don't know where I'm going. God's love does prevail. It's God's love only can. Oh, when there was no time, and before there was a number, Spirit did prevail in a song of ecstasy. And before I had a dream and a lesson to remember, Spirit gently held, yeah, the song inside of me, yeah. So I sing a song of joy, I sing of something higher. All is truly well, and compassion is the plan. Ooh, sometimes I may cry that the world is such a liar, but God's love does prevail. It's God's love only can, yeah, yeah. Do 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 do, oh, do 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 do, do 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 do, do 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 do, yeah, do 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 do, do 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 do, oh, do 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 do, yeah. So I sing a song of joy. I sing of something higher, that all is truly well, and compassion is the plan, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I may cry that the world is such a lie, but God's love does prevail. It's God's love only can. And when there was no time, and before there was a number, Spirit did prevail in a song of ecstasy. Oh, and before I had a dream or a lesson to remember, Spirit gently held the song inside of me, yeah. There's a song inside of me. There's a song inside of me. There's a song inside of you, yeah. There's a song inside of, inside. There's a song inside of you. There's a song inside of me. Oh, Spirit gently held the song inside of me, yeah. I said, Spirit gently held the song inside of you. Spirit gently held the song inside of me. Thank you. Thank you.
It's my turn to tell you how grateful I am to be here with you today. Those of you who are live stream and those of you who are here in person. Our community means a lot to each and every one of us, and it means a lot to me. So thank you so much for coming to my celebration. And we really want to give thanks to everybody who comes before to make this service possible. All our AV people, all our maintenance people, everybody who's involved in every detail that it takes to bring this forward. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are grateful, very grateful. So before you come home today, why don't you come and pray with us? Our prayer practitioners will be in the prayer room. We'd love to greet you. We'd love to pray with you. We'd love to celebrate life with you. So please come and join us, please. So if you will all rise, and we're going to do our closing affirmation together. Whenever you're ready, it's now. I am one with all of life on planet Earth. And ain't that the truth? Thank you. And so it is. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, and have a blessed day. Thank you, Omega. Thank you, Kellen.
Hello, speaking of blessed, we're going to sing our ending song. Blessed always. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Happy Sunday, everyone. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you.